is pouring into everybody else is taking the time to pour into themselves, or
Right.
accepting people to pour into them, or accepting
Mhm.
a break, not feeling guilty for falling short or not doing something that they wanted to do for that day. And so that's kind of what my business has grown into, is more so not pushing out my product, but trying to have a community of people to motivate each other, because it's a crazy time.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
if I don't get anything else out of this, I want to make sure that when people look at or hear K and K Canada Lights, they see the journey that I've been on, and they can
Mhm.
feel that I want them to be able to get through whatever they're getting through too. And if that's
Right.
just coming on my page and seeing something motivational, whether that's having the experience of buying a product, that's really what I want people to
Mhm.
get from my business. And that's kind of the space that I'm in now.
Yeah.
Is just trying to use the platform that I have and grow that platform into a brand that just really focuses on the good, and
Right.
knowing
Right.
that, we're all human, nobody's perfect. So I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm just the ish and my candles are the ish because
Mhm.
I really want to be as regular as possible when it comes to what I present to people and what they think about
Mhm.
when they think about my business.
Well, I love how very humble you are, Miss Kendra. I also want to encourage you to, and in the neighborhood, we can say what we want. So hopefully
Hmm.
YouTube won't flag me, but pop your ish too, Miss Ma'am. Okay. There is absolutely nothing very regular about you or your brand. And this is not me just speaking as a customer, but this is also me speaking as knowing you personally. I know that, life has since college taken us on separate paths, but I've watched you over the years, and I've watched you grow this brand into what you have now. And I want to say, out loud that I'm very proud of you and what I've seen. And I think that your story behind it is just in itself, it is the marketing. And I know you're not technically using it for marketing
Yeah.
purposes, but it definitely helps because it does keep things very relatable.
Hmm.
It does show that vulnerability and that transparency that you spoke about earlier. And I think people have forgotten that customers genuinely do still want to know these stories. They do still want to feel a part of your journey and feel like they know you personally. I love to look at those stories, and it does help impact my buying when I think of a company, when I think about what candle company I'm going to spend my money with. It'll likely be the one that I relate to, or the one where, I feel like I know them a little bit, even if I've never met them a day in my life. So I think that you are doing an amazing job. And again, your journey sounds like something that should be documented for real, because I know that space of not really having a strong identity, a sense of self identity, especially after motherhood. I've been
Hmm.
there before. I've had my own journey with that, and coming out of that space into a business nonetheless is pretty dang on big of a deal. So yeah,
Yeah.
you are a big deal, and pop your stuff.
Thank you. I receive that. I'm gonna receive that. Thank
Yes,
you.
please do. So I don't know if you've heard, but I was looking up different stories about people who have pivoted in business, and I came across the Airbnb story, and I wanted to share that because I thought it was very interesting, and it fits so well with today's topic. So if
Okay.
you don't know, neighbors, and Kendra, if you don't know, everybody listen up, gather around real quick, okay? So um, what I found out was that back in 2007, the two founders, Brian and Joe, they had just moved to San Francisco, and they were really struggling to pay rent. And they noticed that there was this big conference or something coming to town, and all the hotels were booked. So they came up with an idea where they bought a few air mattresses and they set it up in their apartment. And they were offering that as like an air bed and breakfast to,
Oh,
people who were as smart as I don't know what, but a little
right.
risky, a little risky, but it's smart. So they were charging $80 a night for guests to just have a place to sleep, and then they were, providing the breakfast in the morning. And it gave them a chance to not just, make that money so they could pay rent, but they also got that networking experience. And so when they realized that this was like a good idea, they brought somebody else onto the team, they expanded, and eventually, they shortened it to Airbnb. And the rest is obviously history and what we know it to be now. So because
Wow.
of that, I know, right? Like I was like, wow,
I was like, I've never
how
known that. Yeah.
something so seemingly simple as just
Right.
setting air mattresses, but they took advantage of an opportunity. They saw a window. They needed the money, of course, and they pivoted their business not only just once to, I don't know what their background may have been in, business or anything like that, but to be able to take advantage of that and then to pivot it into something that we see, such as the Airbnb now, that's crazy.
Wow.
I
That
know.
is crazy.
But I wanted to share that story just for anybody out there who might be feeling like, they don't have all the pieces together, or, it doesn't look pretty, it doesn't look aesthetically pleasing. Look, they
Mhm.
started with air mattresses and $80 a night. All right. So if if they could do it, then you can do it too. And
Right.
definitely double check my story, double check my facts. Okay, y'all out there, because I know somebody gonna fact check me. So definitely
And
double check them.
the fact that they put themselves out there because,
Yeah,
like, you
yeah.
have to be bold to
Okay.
ask somebody to pay $80 to sleep on the air mattress,
To sleep on there. And you know what?
but people did it.
And it was smart because there was a demand for it. They knew that the
Right.
hotel was booked, and, people obviously needed places to stay for that conference, so it was like divine timing is all I can say, but you definitely
Mhm.
do have to have some sort of audacity to put yourself out
Right.
there like that, especially in
Exactly.
your own personal home, you inviting people, strangers. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know. It couldn't have been me, but
I
I'm glad.
know. But now I'm like,
I'm glad.
"Dang, it should have been
Yeah.
me because I could have
Right?
been."
Okay. Yes. I've been also making it a point because now, of course, we only know so much of these success stories. So
Right.
I've been also making it a point to talk with my guests about making room and giving grace for mistakes. When you are doing any kind of personal or professional development, you got to know that there's going to be room for growth. Let's just call it that,
Mhm.
right? And I really would like to have more conversations around this from, everyday people and see what their experiences is with this. So how do you define mistakes now, and how has that changed for you since being a mom and, like, being able to communicate that with your daughters?
Yeah. So now I view mistakes as opportunities for growth, right?
Mhm.
It's something that is inevitable. Everyone is going to make a mistake. I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and say, I'm going to make a mistake.
Right.
But, you try, but you can't predict the things that you may do. And
Right.
so I feel like before I was really hard on myself, I was very self-critical
Mhm.
of things that I would do or how I would say things or how I presented myself. And I think that sometimes when we don't allow ourselves to make mistakes or be exposed to be able to to make mistakes, it can
Mhm.
limit us and
Yeah.
it can restrict us from being who we really are, who we're meant to be. It can keep us from being in spaces that we're meant to be in. And so, especially with I think becoming a mother and having a business and
Right.
being putting my face on social media and talking,
Yeah.
that is not who I am.
Right.
But,
Right.
I think when you have these assignments, um, you have to put yourself out there. And but for me, when I think about mistakes, I think it helps us to learn accountability. It helps us to be responsible. It helps us to learn ourselves, what we like, what we don't like, how we want to
Mhm.
be. And so you have to make mistakes because it
Right.
helps you to learn from it. It helps you to grow. Well, that's the idea anyway. If
Right.
you're just out there making mistakes and you don't know why and it's not doing anything for you, that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah. That's a whole
But that's one thing that I do. Right. You might need to go talk to somebody about that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but when it comes to my daughters though, I have two daughters and it's very important for me that they one have representation. So they have
Mhm.
something that they can look up to and learn from. But even when they make mistakes, I think it's important for me that I have conversations with them, not just reprimand them, but
Right.
to have a conversation. Because if you're doing something and you get in trouble for it and you don't know why you're getting in trouble for it, you're not learning from that.
Right.
And so I think it's important for them. You have the feelings when you do something you shouldn't do, or something
Right.
slips out and you say something that you shouldn't say, or even if it's unintentional, you have that feeling of, oh man,
Right. Yeah.
like, probably shouldn't have did that, but it's out there now.
Mhm.
But the key is to understand why you feel that way, understand how that may have affected somebody else or how that could affect what happens in the future. And I think that's important when it comes to mistakes. But when it comes to my business, I make mistakes all the time. The number one mistake I made was not going back and really starting from the ground up. But again, I didn't know. So I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
times people make mistakes also because they don't know any better.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
I didn't know anything about it, EIN or a business plan or
Me.
any of those different things and to get a
Yeah.
business account and all the things. I didn't know that. I just knew I wanted to make candles and I wanted to make money from it. And so
Mhm.
I had to backtrack. And sometimes when you do that, it can hinder you a little bit, but the key is to learn from it and to grow and to know that even if you make mistakes, that
Mhm.
doesn't have to define you. That doesn't have to define the future for you as long as you put in the work to backtrack and do what you can to move forward.
Absolutely. And I think one of the most important things that you mentioned in that whole thing is the communication part and having the conversation, especially with our kids. I think I've seen a lot more parents now being open to having those kinds of conversations. I know that some have dealt with coming from spaces where no one would talk to them about, their mistakes and why
Mhm.
they may be getting in trouble and things like that. And so I love that we have gotten to this place now where we're not only being more open to having these conversations, but we're sharing with others who may be, in that space as well. And, from a business perspective, I understand for sure having to learn all of the logistics side of things and, the legal matters and all of that. And I can say for sure, one thing that helped me was people who were having those kinds of conversations as well, who were sharing their own personal journeys and how to find out, these things and what links to go to or what groups there are. Like you found the group for your candle making and things like that, and how it helped you break through with your brand. So
Mhm.
that's been another very important factor in all of this. But like I said, the conversation, just being willing to have those conversations is the to me the biggest step in the right direction, and then everything else is just a work in progress. Mistakes are
Yeah.
going to happen. So
Mhm.
whether it's you're a veteran in your business or you're just starting out, it happens and it's okay.
Mhm.
But it's, about what you do with it and how you move
Right.
forward from it, that really helps to define whether you learned or whether you may have to repeat it again.
Right. Yeah, because you're gonna keep doing it until you
Absolutely.
learn. So
And at that point, it's a choice if you are,
exactly.
to learn.
That might be a
So
little
I
denial
definitely
going on there.
Yeah, man, listen, we could do a whole 20 more episodes on that, I'm sure. I'm
Mhm.
sure on that alone. So before we get up out of here, I want to give everybody a challenge. And Kendra, I'm gonna have you share all of your information for everybody so they can keep up with you. But the challenge for everybody this week is I want you to think about what's one goal that you've been holding on to, and maybe it's just not working anymore. Sometimes you gotta just lay it down, okay? Lay it down and let it go. And
Mhm.
sometimes you gotta lay it down until later. So I want you to think about if it is time to maybe pivot or if it's time to just drop it all together. And if it is time to pivot, what your next move might be. Okay. Drop a comment or keep it in your journal. You ain't got to share all your business with me. But if you want to, if you would like to, drop a comment or a story letting me know how you plan to pivot. And in the meantime, either way, I will be rooting for you for sure. Okay. I know Kendra's gonna be
Mhm.
rooting for you too,
Yes,
right?
that's deep. Because what you're holding on to is holding you back.
Okay. Ooh, okay. I hope y'all are catching these gems, all right? You better be having your notebooks out and taking notes, right? Kendra, I want you to share all of your information that you want anybody to know out there, your website, your socials. Like, this is your time to shine, girl. Tell us where we need to be when we need to keep up with what's going on with K and K Candle.
Yes, well, on Instagram, you can find me. It's KK underscore Candle Delights. On Facebook, it's K and the sign and K Candle Delights. And then if you want to check out my website, it's www.kkkandledelights.com, where you will find all of my soy candles, wax melts, room sprays are coming. They've been
Girl,
behind on
bye.
the inventory, but they're coming back. I promise they
Come
are
on, come
coming
on.
back.
Yes. I'm ready for those room sprays. I know you got some banging new scents, and I got the white tea. I'm excited to get into the room sprays. Yes, ma'am. So
Yes,
let
I am working on some new scents. Right now, my goal is I have a lot of floral and neutral aromatherapy type of scents that I really want to have a brand that is caters to all scents. So we will be putting out some masculine scents here and
okay.
there. I want to make sure that I cater to everybody's interest. So just be on the lookout in the next few months. Spring is coming up. We will be dropping some things. I have some self-care um, products that I'm working on now. So just follow me on Instagram to stay tuned and up to date with everything that we have going on.
Okay, neighbors, y'all heard it here first. All right. Kendra, thank you so much for joining me today on the show. I appreciate you
Yes.
sharing your time with us and your wisdom.
Thank you for
And
having me.
Yes, yes, yes. If you or somebody you know out there, neighbors, is working on normalizing mistakes, make sure that you check out my Instagram where I share more self-concept shifting content at Delulu the Guru. And this has been Chat Back with your girl, Coach Isha. I'll see you guys in the next episode.